Hi, and today we're going to read the last chapter for this week called Mrs. Twit Has the Shrinks. And it's carrying on from last session where we looked at Mr. Twit, who was making the walking stick get longer and longer. And he was telling Mrs. Twit she was getting shorter and shorter. Photograph to start off with. There we go, his picture. Okay, Mrs. Twit has the shrinks. As soon as Mrs. Twit sat down, Mr. Twit pointed at her and shouted, "There you are! You're sitting in your old chair, and you shrunk so much your feet isn't even touching the ground." Mrs. Twit looked down at her feet, and by golly, the man was right. Her feet weren't touching the ground. Mr. Twit, you see, had just been clever with the chair as he had with the walking stick. Every night, when he went downstairs and stuck an extra little bit on the stick, he'd done the same with the four legs of the chair. "Just look, you're sitting there in the same old chair," he cried, "and you've shrunk so much your feet are dangling in the air." Mrs. Twit went white with fear. "You've got the shrinks," cried Mr. Twit, pointing his finger like a pistol. "You've got them so badly, you've got the most terrible sense of shrinks I've ever seen." Mrs. Twit became so frightened she began to tremble. But Mr. Twit, still remembering the worms in his spaghetti, didn't feel sorry for her at all. "I suppose you know what happens to you when you get the shrinks," he said. "What?" cried Mrs. Twit. "What happens?" "Your head shrinks into your body shrinks into your legs, and then your legs shrink into your feet. And in the end, there's nothing left except a pair of shoes and a bundle of old clothes." "Oh, I can't bear it," cried Mrs. Twit. "It's a terrible disease," said Mr. Twit. "The worst in the world." "How long have I got?" cried Mrs. Twit. "How long before I finish up a bundle of old clothes and a pair of shoes?" Mr. Twit put on a very solemn face. "At the rate you're going, I'd say no more than 11 days. "But isn't there anything we can do?" cried Mrs. Twit. "There's only one cure for the shrinks," said Mr. Twit. "Tell me," she cried. "Tell me quickly." "We'll have to hurry," said Mr. Twit. "I'm ready. I'll hurry. I'll do anything you say," said Mrs. Twit. "You won't last long if you don't," said Mr. Twit, giving her a grisly grin. "Then what must I do?" cried Mrs. Twit, clutching her cheeks. "You've got to be stretched," said Mr. Twit. Next week, we're going to find out how Mr. Twit plays another trick on Mrs. Twit. Have a lovely week and take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.